morning and welcome to the Sheep and Cheerful podcast, episode 11, coming to you from the south coast of the United Kingdom on a very sunny and warm day. It is utterly glorious. A little bit, I'm not going to say too warm because that's like just a moaning mini, isn't it? Let's face it. Fortunately for me, in my craft room here in the front of the house, it's fairly cool. The only downside is I can't have the window open because once again we have our little chappy outside doing the remaining couple of cars that he didn't. If you remember last week, we were having the cars washed. Gary had decided to get all our cars washed. Excuse me. So he has he's come back to do the last two, and that sounds like we've got loads of cars, and now I've got a huge guilt complex. We don't have loads of cars. We have a family car. We have a car that Gary has for the business, and then the children who are at home at the moment both have a car. So whatever, you know, no judgment here. You pay your money, you make your something, and I can't even remember that. Right, tangent. That's the key word. If anybody had to use a hashtag for my podcast, I think it would be tangent. Anyway, I should introduce myself. My name is Nikki. I am the host and CEO and incurable waffler of all things cheap and cheerful. Sheep and cheerful. It's going to be a good one today. And this podcast is about me sharing my attempts and my endeavours to live as crafty, a creative and cheerful a life as possible in this month of June 2020. See what I did there? I didn't have to say the date because I forgot to look and see what date it is. Anyway, yes, I think I've said most of the usual blurb. You can find me on social media. Well, I say that, it's only Instagram. As Clara Peggotty, of course. And on Ravelry, I am also Clara Peggotty. And we have a podcast group, which is just brilliant. It's really starting to pick up some speed now. We've got lots of lovely people chatting. We've got various new threads happening all the time now. I'm going to be putting some more up by the end of today. And if you just go into Ravelry and look for Sheep and Cheerful Podcast, you will find the group. I would encourage you to say hello in the introductory thread, mostly because I really like that. I like to know my friends. I like to know, who I'm chatting with. So even if you're shy, just leave a teeny hello in there. No one's going to come round and knock at your door, I promise. So just say hi, and then if you don't want to get too involved in chatter and you just want to, take part but from a distance, then that's absolutely fine. As I say, no judgment, no pressure. Right, so they're the important bits, I think. Excuse me. What else? Thank you for all your comments last week. They were great, as they always are. Yeah, I really appreciate them. I was better at replying. I think there's a few that came in later in the week that I haven't got around to replying to yet, but I will do for sure. Thank you for the thumbs up for the new camera. I'm slowly getting used to that. I'll probably still be discombobulated with directions and pointing to stuff, but, that's not really a crisis, is it? What has been happening this week? Let's think. I didn't make many notes this week. I'm flying by the seat of my pants today. I can tell you that. I've barely written anything down because, I don't know, just one of those days when I thought, no, let's go completely natural. Yes, a wombat. Thank you. Of course it's a wombat. Lots of you said to me the sticker that Karen sent me from Australia was a wombat. And I feel like a bit of a wombat myself for not realising. I think I'm so focused on all things chinchilla at the moment that I completely forgot about dear old wombats. How gorgeous are they? And in case, I've got it here, in case anybody is wondering what I'm talking about, it's this picture here. Oh, there we go. That's better. That's a lovely friend and viewer of the podcast and long-time Instagram friend, sent me with a little package, and she put the wombat on it, on the envelope. And of course, I totally failed in realising it was a wombat. There you go. What else? What did we have last week? I tell you what, do you remember I said last week we did a Hobbit trilogy, a Hobbit marathon. Well, this weekend we did a Lord of the Rings marathon. I say that not only because Jonah made us watch the extended versions, but also because Aragorn, be still my heart. And I have to say, I even had a soft spot for what's his name? I've forgotten his elfish name. Legolas. Of course it's Legolas. Orlando Bloom and what's his name? Mortensen. Do you know, I'm so rubbish. Anyway, don't need to know their names. I can just admire the scenery. Thank you very much. Thoroughly enjoyed the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'm a latecomer to Tolkien. It was several years ago the kids finally got me to watch the Lord of the Rings. And then we went to the cinema to see the Hobbit trilogy. And I loved it. The Hobbit is actually my next read. I'm going to read the book. I had it ready anyway. But Lord of the Rings, I just love. Films 1 and 3 were my favourites, without doubt. Film number 2, which I believe Two Towers. Is it the Two Towers? Yes, I think the second one. First one is Fellowship of the Ring, isn't it? Which I loved. I think the middle one is the Two Towers, and the final one is The Return of the King. That was it. And I loved that. So 3 films of 4 hours. I had 3 very late nights over the weekend. But I got lots of blanket done, which I'll come on to later. That was really good. Hannah now wants to watch the Batman trilogy, the new Batman ones, which I also love. So who knows when. I mean, they're obviously a lot shorter than the Lord of the Rings ones. And I do like a bit of, what's his name? I've forgotten again. I am Batman. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Who is he? Not Christian Slater, is it? For goodness sake, I'm going to look this up. It's not a professional thing to do. Batman, The Dark Knight. Let's see. I'm going to kick myself. I always do when I see who is in it. Oh, come on. Christian Bale. I was right. I was getting muddled up with Christian Slater. Christian Bale again. Oh. Hannah loves Michael Caine as Alfred in that. There, yeah. Christian Bale. Oh, he's lovely. Bit angsty. Bit of a fuss pot, but still rather lovely. Anyway, you didn't switch on this podcast to hear about my secret, man crushes on movie stars, did you? Maybe you did. Anyway, the fact was, Lord of the Rings trilogy over the weekend. So that was good. What else have I written down? That's about all I've written down. I had some lovely... I had a lovely response to the Secret Diary of the Scrappy Blankets, which, if you don't know, there you go, is my design of a journal. There we go again. To keep along with your details of working on your scrappy blanket. So... I didn't put any new ones in here because I cast on a new blanket and I was working on that. But they were in my shop. I put them in the shop on Friday. They all sold out. Thank you very much. And I put a pre-order listing in as well. And in fact, I think there's still some left on the pre-order listing. But I will be taking that down on Friday this week to then complete the pre-orders. I'll probably have a little week off. And then I'm going to make some new designs, so they might well go in. The trouble is they take so long to put together because it's all, as I said before, they're all hand-cut card and printed and organised and blah, 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 that I don't get much crafting done when I have lots of orders of these. So I'm going to give myself a little break of that. Okay. I think that's about it. think that's about all we need to talk about at the moment. How long have we gone? 10 minutes, that's about right. I usually waffle for about 10 minutes, don't I? I think that's okay. Right, so let's go on to some actual making of stuff. We'll start with knitting because I feel quite proud of what I've been knitting. And let's see, what does this relate to? Ah, my little sock. Okay, so if you watch from the beginning, do you know what? I haven't said welcome and welcome back, have I? Okay, welcome back. I'm sure I've forgotten so much stuff. I just have to go with the flow though. You know, go with the flow. One of the challenges I set myself when I first started podcasting and to chat about was different techniques of knitting. I had various challenges if you've been with me from the beginning. One of them was to learn and to have a go properly at knitting a sock on mini circulars, so on 9-inch circular needles. And I started a sock with some self-striping yarn that was from, can you see that? There you go. From my friend Debbie, who's, do I need to do that? Does that make any difference? I don't know. It just makes me look professional. My friend Debbie, down Sheepy Lane, and as I said before, I can never remember the name of this colourway. I stupidly took the tag off and didn't keep it. I kept her card. There's her card. So that's Debbie, down Sheepy Lane. She does lovely self-striping yarn and a variety of other colourways. So I started off with my higher bamboo circulars. I do enjoy using bamboo. I vary. I don't use all bamboo. And I don't use all metal. I'm not keen on plastic. But anyway, I have now, can we just see, turned the heel. Look at that. So I've done the leg. I'm doing these top down. There you go. So like these colours. Love this self-striping. And then Debbie also sent the... a mini colourway. I think this is her coal colourway. So this came with the sock set. So I'm going to do the heels and toes. So I did the heel there. I left it on the mini circs. My heel of choice is a Fish Lips Kiss heel. I can pretty much do that without looking at the instructions now. Do get in a bit of a pickle sometimes, but most of the time we get a fairly decent heel. I don't like the... See, why start with what I don't like? Let's start with what I do like. I really like the look of the shaping, the heel shaping there. Can you see that there? So the diagonal. I'm going to go really close, so you might want to sit back a bit from the... No. Oh, for goodness sake, there. I really like that. I have a problem when you use a standard... when you do a standard short row heel and you get the slip knits and the knit two togethers either side, I think it's the knit two together side I like. I don't like the slip knit side. I think that's the way round it is. But anyway, I much prefer the Fish Lips Kiss heel. If I'm not putting a gusset in, I use the Fish Lips Kiss. How many times can I say Fish Lips Kiss heel? Yeah. Use Fish Lips. Yeah. Fish Lips Kiss. I'm guessing that's what it is. Anyway, so I'm now on the foot. Look at that result. So you can see the little bamboo mini circs there. I do need to do that there, don't I? I really like these. It's my birthday soon, and I have asked Father Birthday to bring me maybe a couple more pairs because I can see more of this in my future. I have a lovely little stitch marker. I don't know if you can see that. That's from my friend Soraya. I treat myself every now and then to one of her lovely stitch marker sets. She is Malika on Instagram and her own shop. And most of my projects have her stitch markers on, apart from one or two that I've got new ones. But anyway, so mini circs sock. This is only sock number 1. But I'm really pleased and I'm enjoying it. A little bit fiddly doing the heel on these, but not really an issue. Like I say, I think I'm going to use these more and more. So yeah, very pleased about those. Now the next project, I need, oh rats, just a sec. I need Oh, this is where you see a nice back view of me. I need a sock blocker. Oh, this is my dress. Let's talk about my dress for a minute. This is one I've made. It's a, I've really got that memory thing going on at the moment. What's her name? Tiff Funnel. Dotty Angel, that's it. So it's got pockets. It's got a tie back. I made this last couple of years ago. This fabric, can you see? It's actually all multicoloured fish. I don't know if you can see. I'm not going to get close to the camera because that would just scare you. But I love it. The neckline was a bit too big, so I put a little pin tuck pleat thing there. Which way around there? And the thing is, oh, I'll talk about dresses in a minute. Anyway, that's what I'm wearing today. So we have got, so this is related to, I'll talk about the knit along we've got going on in a bit, but we basically got one going along called I Finished Mum, or as I like to say, I finished Mum. And it's really to pick up projects that have been gathering dust that you're feeling a bit meh about. But, you know, you started them because you liked them. So there's, you know, no good reason why you shouldn't finish them. You know, they've just been overtaken by something a bit more sexy, doable. So I had, at the moment, I've entered 2 pairs of socks. I haven't really entered, obviously, because it's my group. But I'm joining in 2 pairs of socks I've got that I've had on the needle since last December. Both pairs I really, really like. Yes, sorry, the Soul Sisters socks, the other pair were not from last December, but this pair was in a Christmas colourway. It's the Cocoon sock pattern by Mina Philipp, who is KnittingExpat. I belonged to her sock pattern club year before last, where you get 6 patterns through the year. And again, this is down Sheepy Lane yarn. It's one of my favourite colourways that Debbie's ever dyed, and it's I think it was a Christmas cheer it was called. It's a couple of years old, but if you like it, message her, get it to dye it again. But I have finished sock number 1. Da 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 da. So I'm going to bring it closer, but I don't want to knock you out. There you go. So with Mina, she only ever does the pattern on the front of the sock, so I'll take it off and show you properly in a minute. But this is just so you can see the colourway. How beautiful is that colourway? It's teals and pinks, and they just look like they were born to go together. They are so fantastic. Debbie, I don't know whether Debbie watches this, but if you are, Deb, I would love to do a jumper in this. I love this colourway. You'll see again, I've done a fish lips kiss heel there. It's a little bit long for this sock blocker. So this one, because I was doing these sock 1 and 2 concurrently, I had the second one on the needles, and the first one I had just got past the heel. So let me do this. So you can see, oops, let's go the right way. Now I can't see what I'm looking at. There's the pattern. There you go. Sorry for coming so close. It's such a nice pattern. It's a little bit fiddly to knit, but once you get the swing of it, it's really, really good. And I really like it. Really love this. Oh, Gary's gone. Sorry, I've just seen my husband just walk out the front door and down the drive. Obviously somebody's trying to find our house. So yeah, so that's the first one. So I got, it's a hoe, isn't it? A ho, a half object. And then, in order to encourage me to knit these, I transferred them into my new holy bag, which I talked about a couple of weeks ago. And, excuse me, I have just turned the heel on sock number 2. Well, you can barely see. I've literally just picked up the leg pattern now. So that's the foot, because I did these toe up. And I've just done the heel. I am so excited. I'm so pleased about that. You'll see also I'm doing these on magic loop. I've just got some Indi 2.25mm magic loop, which are fine. Not my favourite needles to knit with. Addies, I seem to go from the sublime to the ridiculous. I think probably Chalgi are my favourite. Addies are a little bit dull, but then I've got a load of higher sharps and they absolutely muller my fingers. So, you know, who knows? Can't win. Anyway, thank you. A half finished sock from our I Finished Mum Cal. So, there, those two. What's next? Knitting wise. Okay. We've also got a Scrappy Blanket Adventures knit along or crochet along or anything you like along. It's a joint make along I'm doing with my gorgeous dear friend Sherrie from the Ollie and Bella podcast, and we've both got again, I'm not going to focus on the Ravelry groups right now, I will come back to that. And I had my scrappy crochet blanket going, the cupcake stripe blanket from Attic 24. I'm not going to show you that again this week. I haven't done much on it because I fell down another rabbit hole. Just like me, suddenly I have woken up to the joys of scrappy blanket knitting. As usual. Do you know what? If anybody remembers Duran Duran from the 80s, I didn't buy their album until the late 90s and I loved it. Arena, I think it was. I was so into it. About 10-15 years after everyone else. That's me. That's my MO. But, oh, hang on, sorry. Henry. Oh, he's done it again. His paws are right by the wheels of my chair. He's also lying flat on his back with his bits in the air. You need that, don't you? Right. So, oh, what's that in there? Yes, I've got another project to show you. Good job I put that there because I would have forgotten. Right, but briefly, my other Cath Kidston basket, which I love these baskets. I've only got two. Oh no, because I've got three because I've got the Tiddler. So I've got a really big one, a medium size one, and a small one. I cast on the Bits and Bobs blanket by Kay Jones, who is from the Bakery Bears podcast. There you go. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to have to go for a minute because do you know what? Before I started recording, I made banana bread. And my timer is just going, so I've just got to pop out into the kitchen and get that out of the oven. Be back in a sec. Okay, I'm back. Now the only thing is, be totally transparent about this, I had to then cover it in silver foil and put it back in for 10 minutes. So I'm going to be dipping back out, but you won't actually know that because I could just cut it and carry on. So I thought I'll carry on. Anyway, it looks delicious. I'll tell you a bit about that later. Yep, I'm going to talk about banana bread. How exciting does it get? Right, yes, Bits and Bobs blankets. So yeah, the Kay Jones from the Bakery Bears. I love Fisherman's Rib. I love brioche, but actually Fisherman's Rib I think is a little bit easier, possibly, not sure. Whereas I would bulk at knitting a brioche blanket. I don't bulk at knitting a Fisherman's Rib blanket, but that comes with its own set of challenges. Anyway, I decided because my Attic 24 blanket is very pastel-y and I'm holding the yarn double, my scrappy yarn double with a natural, just a drops alpaca 4-ply, which I happen to have here because I had to order some more because I've got cracking so much. So that's what I'm using. So it's an undyed yarn. I'm using that colour 100. I'm using that to double on my crochet blanket. So, and I have from a couple of years ago when I totally splurged and ordered a Suburban Stitcher advent calendar, which wasn't cheap having it shipped. I mean, it's beautiful yarn. Plus I don't use minis. I don't know what I was thinking of, but I wanted to jump on the bandwagon because everybody else was ordering advent calendars and I wasn't. I was sad about that. So I thought I'd give it a try. Anyway, Diane's minis were absolutely beautiful and I loved the film. She used Christmas film references and I really loved it. But those minis have sat unused. Some of them I've swapped, but I haven't really dipped into them. So, and they're all quite bright and vibrant. So I thought I would make my Bits and Bobs blanket a darker, vibrant, more saturated one. So I elected to, because it's one of those where you hold yarn double again. So I'm using darker colours. So this one is one, again, I had this in stash. There. So that's just a blue. Have I got the, I do have the colour. So this is colour number 5575. Couldn't tell you what they call it. But again, it's just drops alpaca like that. So that's a dark blue. When I run out of this, I've only got one of these. Oh, I've got two. I've got a grey. Sorry. And I've got a dark pink. So I'm probably just going to put those through and then decide what to do after that. In true Clara Peggotty fashion, I decided to use this fabric covered journal cover for my Secret Diary of a Scrappy Blanket. So I've set up a second one because this will sit in my basket with this. And I have filled out, as you can see. Now, interestingly enough, I'm doing this backwards. So the first page is there, then I'm adding them to the front. So this isn't, it's empty. I'm just adding them a page at a time. I need to fill some up, actually. So yeah, and again, like with the others, I'm just adding a scrap of yarn there. I will put a stash section in this, so if I do any swaps or anything's come in, I will add to that. In the meantime, what have I put here? Yeah, cast on the Bits and Bobs blanket, summer solstice. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll talk to you about the stitch count as well in a moment. Watch Lord of the Rings, 2 Towers, and then proceeded to go wrong. And then yesterday, so I've got my journal that stays with that, my diary, and the blanket now. Now, Kay says this is paid for pattern, so I'm not going to tell you too much, but she suggests you you cast on 181 stitches. Now, I don't do anything so logical as look at measurements. It's a long tail cast on. So I did my guesstimate, you know what it's like with a long tail cast on. You never, well, occasionally get it right. And I had lots of yarn left when I got to 181 stitches, so I just carried on casting on. I think I might have 281, but I'm not entirely sure because I haven't counted. At least I did, but I can't remember because she said you have to have an odd number. Just a second. Okay, another interruption. That was Gary. He needs to come into the room to get something. I think you remember he has this tiny little section of this room with a desk and he needed something from there. Yes, so I think I have cast on 280 stitches. Not sure. Anyway, this is, oh my goodness, I love this. Ta-da! It doesn't look a lot, but there's a lot of hours in this already. It's so squishy. Squishy. It's very squishy. Look. So you can see I have used 2 colours. So it's not like a 2-colour brioche where you get one colour all one side and one the other. It's still blended. It's mulled. But sometimes, yeah. Oh, look, I'm picked a bit. There are a couple of errors on the first couple of rows, but, you know, this is going to be such a big blanket that they're going to be lost in the... So there you go. So this bottom one, this very first colour was a Suburban Stitch colour, which was, I did put them, there you go. That's what I've got left. So that's gone into my, I'm also keeping a yarn bowl to make a magic knot ball. So that was one of Diane's Christmas 2018 ones. This is my yarn bowl. So that's leftovers. And then this second colour that I'm using, I can show you here, is this one, which is really lovely. It's corally, orangey, yellowy. I'm not entirely sure where that came from. I pulled this out of my stash. Yeah, not sure. Anyway, so again, more vibrant, variegated colours. So you can see, let's make sure I'm still there. So you can see really well the colour change. And it works really well with the blue, I think. I'm thinking I may work on this, and I mean, Jonah, will possibly be leaving home end of next year when he qualifies. So it gives me time to knit this. I would love to give this to him as a present when he moves out to his own place, but we'll see. But I'm using higher bamboo again. And they are, I can't remember, I think they're 4mm needles. So yeah, it's quite that way. It's quite a long old blanket, but it's going to be wonderful. So I haven't posted that yet in the group. I'm going to. I've got my next colour lined up, which is actually, it's a bluey grey. Now the reason I'm using this one, it's going to be a little bit of a dark patch with the navy. In fact, maybe I'll keep that for when I go a little bit lighter. This was a gift given to me. It's Madelinetosh Unicorn Tails, given to me by lovely Katrina, who is Nelly Knits on Instagram. Hi Katrina. And a couple of years ago when I ran the Socks on the Beach retreat, Katrina gave me a thank you gift, and there were a couple of unicorn tails in there, which I have kept because they're obviously very special. This is going into my special blanket. But I'd say I think I will put it with, oh, I didn't look down. So this is my stash of drops alpaca that I've got. So actually, that could go with that, or the grey, couldn't it? I think it would look really nice against that. So I might, when I use that as the secondary colour, then I might save that. So yeah, who knows? Right, onwards. Okay, so that's my brioche blanket. I just whipped out and took the banana bread out, and oh, it looks lovely. I'll show you at the end of this. It's very nice. One of the things I did want to mention is that I did struggle. I have made some mistakes with the blanket, and fisherman's rib is quite tricky. I'm not a great one to understand knitting. I understand a lot more now than I ever used to, but stitch-wise in the construction of stitches. Up until recently, I've been very much a just follow the pattern person. But of late, I have realised that I do know more than I thought I knew, and I get things. However, I was struggling with laddering down through my blanket rows, a couple of rows down, to correct a mistake. So I found a tutorial by Bristol Ivy on YouTube, and I've actually, I wrote it down. I've written down the link in my, oh no, not the link. I hope to put the link actually. Link in the box below. If anybody has problems, she has quite a good one, and it helped me work out, at least get more of a feel for the stitch and how to pick up. The main thing is with a fisherman's rib, you knit into the stitch below and then knit normally, stitch below, normal, and you alternate that all the way along. Occasionally I will forget whether I'm supposed to be doing a stitch below or a normal, and although now I'm reading the stitches a lot better, there are a few mistakes where I've knitted into the stitch below, or I've knitted normal when it should be the other one, and vice versa. No great tragedy, no one's going to die because I did that, but I did try and correct it. And actually, looking with the Bristol Ivy video, she also talks about dropping down through brioche, which is another useful tip to know. So I will put the link in the box below for those of you who want to have a look at that. There are lots of others. I chose the Bristol Ivy one because I like Bristol Ivy. As I say every week, I'm shallow like that. If anybody's got a better, or if anybody's got a really good one, then do let me know and I'll have a look at that as well. Right, so that's the Bits and Bobs blanket, which will come up again when I talk about our make-along. One more. There is more. Quick sit. Oh, look at my battery. Oh no, I've got 29 minutes left. Excuse me, Mo. Right. Okay, so I picked up, I've not picked up my chicken sweater this week. Because, well, I've done a little bit, but actually it's been so warm and my hands get all sweaty, and you know, when it's so hot you don't really have the mojo to knit on woolly sweaters, do you? Which is probably why I've got on well with my socks. I didn't knit much on my hummingbird shawl either, because I've just been knitting on my blankets basically and my socks. So, you know, you'll get that with me, variety, spice of life and all that. What I did pick up is a long overdue whip, which I started at the end of last summer. I think I talked about this on one of my vlogs. She says, casually trying to fill out the time while she gets out there. Here we go, the details. This is, oh, sorry, I just scared Honey because I made a loud noise. And I just realised again, oh, I'm so inefficient, but you're used to this by now, aren't you? Excuse me. I'm going over here to get the pattern book, because I don't have the pattern book with the pattern, because it's a huge, great Rowan book. It's from this book here, which is the Rowan magazine number 65. I hadn't actually bought Rowan magazines for ages. When I first started knitting, I was all about Rowan, because the friend that I used to chat, well, still friends with her actually, but she was very much a Rowan person. She doesn't do Indi dyed yarns or patterns. So, you know, you go with who you sort of socialise with, don't you, I suppose. Then obviously I discovered Instagram, and that whole new world opened up to me. But at the end of last year, I casually picked up a Rowan mag when I was in our local Closs and Hamblin, which is our sort of haberdashery shop in the UK. And I found so many designs in here that I really liked. And I found a very straightforward, lacy but straightforward cardigan pattern in cotton that I really loved. And I'm going to show you the picture. So there you go. Can you see? There. I'm going to come a bit closer again, so beware. There you can see. Now it's basically, look, I need to casually lean up against a wall, don't I, with long hair and tanned legs, and then I'd look just like her. It's basically it's a feather and fan, or old shale. We had this discussion, didn't we? And it's a very straightforward cardigan, set in sleeves, knit in pieces. What is that all about? But, you know, ever want to mix it up. So I bought the Rowan yarn because I was also having a hankering for a real pale yellow buttermilk yarn. So I bought the Summerlite cotton yarn, which I have, oh, I don't have, I'll put the details below. So can you see the colour of that? I'm not sure how well that's going to come up. I'll go a bit closer. There you go. It's really soft. It's too yellow to be cream, but it's not really yellow. It's really lovely. So I bought that, and I cast on the sweater the end of last summer, and then for some reason put it down like you do, and we headed into autumn and winter, so I thought, oh, I'll leave that till next summer. And it's just been sitting there, so I pulled it out this week, and I'm just really loving working on it again. So here's the thing, I guess there is a point that you come to when you think, I'm not going to work on that ever again. It's 3 years old, chuck it out or frog it. But there are some projects, certainly if you're like me anyway, where, you know, you put it away for a year or even 2 or 3 and you pick it up and think, oh yeah, I'm really glad I kept this. And you suddenly re-find that mojo and that excitement. And that's really good because, you know, it's a sunk cost. You've already bought the yarn, haven't you? So the back I had already done. I'm going to show you the back. There. How unusual to see a back in a piece, isn't it? Rather than, you know, either steeking or... It's quite obviously floppy. It's cotton. Let's do a... There. That's... You can see an idea of the pattern there. Really straightforward. There. So that was the back, and I had cast on one of the front pieces, but I hadn't done much on it. So I have been doing a few rows of that, and they're quick rows because there's only 74 stitches on you know, each side of the front, which is just almost sock, isn't it? It's almost sock doable. So that's what I have in the front, and you can see there, oh, there's one of my hairs on it, that's nice. This was the stitch marker I showed you last week that I bought. That's where I was at when I picked it up. So I've done about 2 inches in this pattern, and I'm really enjoying it. It's really hitting the spot. This cotton is lovely and soft. It's not splitty. I love the colour. I'm really excited about this. It's going to be a bit of a, the only things with cotton cardigans, certainly with me, they get a bit sloppy, but I like having a kind of a floppy cardigan to wear. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. So that, I think, is going to be my knit for the next couple of weeks, as opposed to my winter sweaters. I've made the, I have to cover this up, because what I did with this one, I'm going to cover it up with a piece of Tilda fabric. So I made, oh, that's the name of the cardigan, the Bismar cardigan by Annika, Andrea, Wolke for Rowan. I don't know if the pattern is on Ravelry separately. It may well be. And it's knit in Rowan Summerlite 4-ply. And I'm using a 3.25mm needle. And what I did here, I've actually typed out, so rather than, I have got a photocopy of the pattern page in my project bag, but I've also typed out the pattern repeat for the feather and fan, and I've just stuck it on the front there, and this is in my project bag, so I know, you know, it's a repeating pattern all around the cardigan, so I've just got it there as a 4-row repeat. Quick reference, and that's working out quite well for me. I also have got to the point where I'm shaping the front, so I've attached some light bulb stitch markers there. Can you see those? You don't need to, you know what light bulb stitch markers are, but I've attached them to my card, so I just pull one off each time I need to use it. So cool, these cards. I should mention I've got this in the Namaste bag that I bought from Vicky, West Green Loft Yarns, my gorgeous Namaste bag, which I think I said to you before, I got this at Unravel, and of course I haven't been out really anywhere to knit since I got it, but I'm using this first. So it's a backpack and it's lovely. So that Bismar cardigan, so crikey, quite a few things progressing quite nicely. I haven't done any spinning, but I have done some sewing. So I'll talk about that in a mo. What I will just talk about though is a new cast on. Tomorrow is the, oh hang on a minute, I've just thought of something. Oh, okay, I'll put that there. Tomorrow is the start date, I believe, which tomorrow being Thursday, but when you watch this, it will be Thursday. The start date for the Curious Handmade Mystery Knit Along, the Stillness Shawl, which, as I mentioned before, lovely Janine, my lovely friend Janine, bought me and gave me the pattern, or the membership to this Mystery Knit Along. She also dyed some yarn up for me, which was really lovely. They're all beautiful, and I will show you. I have them here. Hang on. Let's show you. I'll show you what she dyed, and then I will show you what I'm going to use, because she dyed them knowing that I love all the pastels. But the instructions on the Mystery Knit Along are you want a contrasting light, medium and dark colourway. And when you see these, you realise that they don't really fit that bill. But look. How pretty, how absolutely beautiful are they? And they're sparkly as well, because she knows I like a bit of sparkle. So you've got a really pale pink sparkle. I don't know if that's coming out as pink or not, but anyway. There's a mint, which is absolutely beautiful. And a blue, pale blue, a baby blue, which is beautiful as well. And they're all on 4-ply sparkly weight. But I felt, and I've spoken to Janine about this, that although they're beautiful, I need contrast in this shawl from what Helen Stewart is saying. So I've had a good old dig around my stash, And the combo I have come up with is that as the light one, that one as the medium, or she said speckled you could use, would be suitable. And this one is down Sheepy Lane again. I've got lots of Debbie's yarn in my stash. There you are, which is speckled but pink and purple. And then the darker one is that, which is a Hey Mama Wolf skein, naturally dyed by Euler over in Germany. And that's 4-ply as well. So they're the three, I can't get the angle right there, that I'm looking at using for the shawl. And I'm hoping that they will work rather beautifully when we get the first clue tomorrow. So it then means I have 2 other skeins from Janine that I can use in other projects, because look at how beautifully those 2 pair up. So this one's Janine's and this one is Hedgehog Fibres. And I think for a shawl pattern, a 2-skein shawl pattern, they will be brilliant. And this one I've got plans for as well. This is the mint one. So yeah, so that's a new cast on, that's coming this week. So I think my hummingbird shawl is going to have to sit in the background for a while, because I think I will endeavour to keep up with the clues on this. It's actually really good, because the fact that Janine has done this for me means that I'm accountable and I want to keep up with it. So that's what I'm planning to do there. What else? I got a little bit of post before I move on to sewing. Shall I share with you some yarn that I bought? I love, and I've said this in the past, oh my goodness, I love my lovely friend Helen, Giddy Yarns, Helen. I love her yarns, her colourways. She dyes self-striping and she dyes variegated and speckled yarns. She's up in Scotland now. And she just picks the most wonderful themes for her colourways. And one of the ones is, I've spoken to you before about this, is bedtime stories. And I bought Secret Garden, if you remember, a few weeks ago. And Helen did an Instagram live last weekend, or 2 weekends ago it was, I think, to do with the Wool Monty, the show that became a virtual show, because obviously we couldn't have it. And I had decided that I would allow myself to buy something from her update. So I bought her colourway called The Railway Children. Now, this is the colourway. I don't know if you, again, I don't know how well that shows up. It's speckled red and blue, and oh, it's got some teal and some pink. It's really, really lovely. Now, this is on a superwash merino nylon base. The other bases are a little bit, they vary obviously between bases because they depend on how the dye takes. Some of them come out a little bit more pinky red. But this one, I mean, it's just beautiful. That's Helen's. Oh, come on, get it right. There you are, Giddy Yarns. I'll put it down below. And this is the Railway Children. Now, I grew up with the Railway Children on a vinyl album, a story album, narrated by Lionel Jeffries. No, was it narrated by Lionel Jeffries? No, he was in it. Oh, goodness, I'm confused now. I can't remember. Anyway, it was an album. I don't know if anyone else had it, but it was red and it had the iconic picture of the 3 children, Bobby, Peter and Phyllis, in their bobble hats and their pinafores and their flannel petticoats. Not Peter, obviously, he was in his little hat, in front of the steam train, and it was all red around the outside. Does anybody remember that? And the music was da 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 da. But you get the gist. Oh, I mean, that music still sends shivers down my spine. And that, I've got the album. Actually, I'll see if I can dig it out in a moment and show you the album. I've got it upstairs. Just remembered that. Anyway, I had to buy the Railway Children. I had to do it. And my next one is The Sea of Adventure. All these books, I mean, they are... Helen is looking back over my childhood, over my teen, well, very early pre-teen years. And these, oh, just wonderful. Helen, thank you. Don't stop. She also has Winnie the Pooh colourways going on, and for the first time, probably the first time in many years, since I bought the Suburban Stitcher Advent things, I bought a set of random minis, and these are her Winnie the Pooh mini set. So I might get this wrong, forgive me if I do. We've got, oh dear, what have we got? We know that that's Eeyore. Oh, no, I thought the postman was coming and now my phone's gone. Oh, it's all happening. We've got, that's Piglet, which is pale green and pink. That's perfect. This one, I think this is Roo and Mrs. Roo, Kanga. This one is Winnie the Pooh, and this one is Rabbit. I think I've got those right. But anyway, they're fabulous, and they are going to go. Sorry, I will put my phone onto mute. That's Sherrie. Sherrie, if you're watching, you're pinging me while I'm recording. Actually, my battery's about to die, so I'm going to have to recharge it. These, I might split these. I think these need to go in my pastel one, except so I need to keep them together. Is the 100 Acre Wood Animals. Certainly those two can go in my pastel one, my pastel blanket. I think they will work in my pastel blanket as well. If not, they'll go in my brioche blanket. And they'll just have to wave at each other across the baskets. Anyway, that's what I bought from Helen at Giddy Yarns. I think these are all sold out at the moment, but I'm sure she will be updating. She has some other lovely ones in there, so check them out if you're into minis. Helen is actually taking part in our Scrappy Blanket Adventures make along, so you can always chat to her on our Ravelry group. They're fantastic. And actually, while I'm at it, before I start, recharge the camera, recharge myself, I may have to go and try the banana bread. Helen also sent a prize. Yay! Thank you, Helen. It's in paper. I'm not going to open it, so it's going to crinkle, but you know, get over it. She sent this one, and it is absolutely beautiful. I love this. Now, if I'd have seen this on her website, I probably wouldn't have bought it, but I absolutely love it. And it's, her colourway is, and she, what is it with me? I've got two desks and everything I need is on the other desk. I will look that up in a sec. She said, can you see, there's a little needle cozy in there. And it's sort of like got, it's a chocolate bar. It's a chocolate bar. Fabric, little orange poppers. I should open it, but I don't want to. And there's some stitch markers in there. Hang on, let me get the description for you. Talk amongst yourselves just for a moment. There you go. That wasn't too bad, was it? So she has sent, this is from her 1930s Nostalgia Club colourway. And it's called The Persistence of Memory. I love that. I love that. I could do with a bit of a persistent memory. Can you see those speckles? Anyway, it's beautiful. Take it from me. There's a DPN needle cozy from Bertie and Poppet, which was one of from her club last year. So I need to look that up because I don't know that maker. And she made the stitch markers, and they're in here in a little one of those little bags. The netting bags. I can't think what they're called anyway. But you can see that needle cozy. Yeah, I don't want to keep throwing this at the screen. But anyway, that is a prize, and that's going to go in our prize basket for one of the make-alongs, which will be really cool. I have also had another gift is on its way from Lynn down in, oh Lynn, you are New Zealand, aren't you? I'm pretty sure you're New Zealand, not Australia. She's sending us a bag. She makes bags, and she's sending a bag as a prize. So I'm really excited to get that when it arrives. Thank you, Lynn. I really appreciate that. Also, Janine has offered to make a bag surprise as well because she's looking at opening an Etsy shop. So really, really lovely. it's always exciting to receive prizes, and the more, obviously, the more I get in, the more I give away. Although, like I say, I have got some up my sleeve as well. Not today because, you know, that'd be a bit awkward. Oh, for goodness sake, woman. So, yes, that's a lovely post I received along with my colourways that I bought. Okay, what else have I got? I'm looking at my note. I want to talk about our make-alongs, and I want to talk about stitching. We've got a book review coming up. So I'm going to have a little break. I'm going to go and have a little piece of banana bread and find the charger for my camera battery, and I will be back very shortly. Right, I had just snuck out to the kitchen. I made a cheeky cup of coffee, and then, as is the case in this family, ended up making coffee for everybody. I'm a coffee magnet. And I tried the banana bread. Oh my goodness, it was delicious. Do you want to see? I've got a bit here. I won't be eating it on camera, don't worry. Well, I've got half a piece. Oh, I've got a recipe book called New York Cult Recipes that I was given as a present for Christmas. And I love it, but I haven't been using it because it's, you can imagine, probably not terribly Weight Watchers friendly. But at the moment, I'm kind of having a little sabbatical from Weight Watchers. Plus, as we know, I had a surfeit of bananas. So I made this and, oh my goodness, it's lovely. It's lovely. Anyway, I'm not going to eat that. That's just there. Just there, basically. Okay. Can I talk a little bit about our Ravelry group? Can I talk about it? There's not much you can do, is there, if you say no? Although you can switch me off. Please don't switch me off. As I said, we have the podcast group in Ravelry, and oh my goodness, the telephone is ringing now. Do you know what? I'm not going to answer it. I'm going to leave it. Nobody else will answer it. So there you go. I hope it's not any of you, because I'm not answering. They can leave a message. Right. And then we'll probably hear my voice talking. No, I don't know. It's a message for me, but never mind. Might have to cut that bit out. Our Ravelry podcast group is great. We've got 2 make-alongs going along, which I have talked about already. One is the excuse me, Scrappy Blanket Adventures that I'm co-hosting along with Sherrie from Ollie and Bella podcast, and that is cracking. I've got the thread open here, and that is really bubbling along nicely. That's going to be open for at least the rest of the year, and most likely, bearing in mind I've just cast on another blanket more so. So jump in there. I do want to offer, though, congratulations to Emma. That's why I've got this is open. Em's Little Nest, who is, again, down in New Zealand. She finished one of her scrappy blankets. This is the blanket thread. Let me just check that I'm on. Yeah. She was making a baby blanket, a crochet baby blanket, and she finished it, I think, let me look at the post, the same day, the day after the baby arrived. So she doesn't say whether or not it's a baby in the family or a friend, but in any event, congratulations to the new arrival, and congratulations to Emma for getting that finished. That will be such a lovely gift. And if you haven't seen the photo she's posted on the thread with the little teddy bear, it might be a dog actually, my bad, go and have a look. That's wonderful. At this point, I should also say congratulations to another of our number, who I've already talked about actually, Janine, who is the Faithful Sheep on Instagram, although it's a private account, and she's on, I believe, our Ravelry group. I think she is. Anyway, Janine became a grandma last night or yesterday, and I think first grandchild. I know she's been knitting for the baby for a while. I kind of have a double whammy there, because her son and his partner know my daughter, Hannah. Hannah used to work with the new baby mum, Amber. And I think Janine's son also did some work at the hotel where Hannah was working at the time. So she's in touch with them via social media. And obviously now Janine and I are friends. And as of yesterday, she became a grandma. So congratulations, Janine. It's fantastic news. Little baby girl. And everybody is doing well by all accounts. She said to me she's probably going to end up crying today or Wednesday. So if you're watching this Thursday morning, Janine, and you start crying again, sorry about that. That's such good news. What a blessing. Anyway, back to the Ravelry group. Now we have a second make along going, and forgive me, I am looking at my computer because there's something very important I need to do, and I have to look at the details here. So we've got the I Finished Mum make along, which is, as I said earlier, anything that you've started and it's kind of gathering dust, or that you've not been inspired to make, or even if you've cast it on and it's a really, you know it's a challenging project, and you want to jump into the I Finished Mum make along, and we will all cheer you on and support you and encourage you. There's now a finished object thread up because people are now finishing stuff. Honestly, it's so much fun. People are finding it very motivational to be able to be accountable just a little bit for these things. And as you see, I've, got on with my socks, which is really great. So first of all, I've got on the thread, do a happy dance, but I am going to ring the bell. We have an I Finished Mum bell for Sharon from Pennsylvania. Okay, it's not a super exciting bell, but it is a proper bell. This belonged to my mum. It was mum's. Hi mum, sorry. So Sharon gets the I Finished Mum congratulations bell. She finished her Mother's Day prayer shawl, and she's put pictures in, and it's absolutely fantastic. Okay, then moving on. We've got an I Finished Mum, who is Tina. I need to get the way to ring this. There you go. Tina from Scotland. Yay! She's finished a pair of socks that she made for her husband, and she's finally got those off the needles, which is great. Then the next one, we've got 4 of these. We have Valerie. See if I can ring this. Oh, there you go. Oh, I'm upsetting the dog now. Valerie from Casper in the USA. I thought that was in Canada. I got that wrong, didn't I? Has finished her sock head hat, which is so pretty. It's so lovely, Valerie. Well done. And she's also, now there's a picture with a little bag. She also made a bag to go with it, which is great. Well done, Valerie. And then finally, the latest one is, and I'm just having to check the name, Denise from Missouri. You get the bell. You get the I Finished It Mum bell. Well done. You have finished the Diamond Ray cowl that you decided to listen to audiobooks whilst you were knitting it, and you've got it finished and it looks awesome. So congratulations to all 4 of you. Obviously, I'm not going to be pulling prizes just yet. The make along goes to the end of August, and at the end of August I will be pulling prizes from the group of from the Finished Objects thread. So if you have anything you want to jump in with us, then please do. You've got plenty of time, even if it's that, that sock that you started 2 years ago and it's in that dusty old project bag at the back of your stash, or back of your cupboard. Dig it out, get it finished. It feels so good. It really will. And as I say, you can cast on more stuff. So yes, that's the I Finished Mum thread in the Ravelry group. That is my official I Finished Mum bell that you will get rung in your honour if you are able to add an object to the Finished Object thread. Now, sticking with the Ravelry group, we have a couple of threads open. I have now opened a yarn swap thread because we talked about in the Scrappy Blanket Adventures knit along, or make along, sorry, we talked about, and there's a few people who've said they would be happy or like to do some yarn swaps. It's something that Sherrie and I said we wouldn't organise, but we would facilitate if people wanted to post about it. So I have now set up a separate thread. So do go and have a look. It's got one offered swap in there at the moment, but I know quite a few of you put on your posts in the chatter thread for the blankets that you wanted to do a swap. So can I suggest you check it out? Perhaps put a picture. You don't even have to put a picture, just put that you would like to swap, vague idea of colourways and quantities, and then people can go in there and contact you a bit easier. Because the chatter thread was getting quite long in the blanket chatter group, I thought it might be easier to have a separate thread for that. You'll also see, if you're having a look, we've got a thread that I think Tina posted, thoughts on acrylic yarn. Difficult one, that, and I've had an input in that. Sherrie came over and chatted about it, and you know, feel free if you're not sure about why don't people like acrylic yarn, or why, you know, you love it and you think it's the best thing since sliced bread. It's just a chat. It's a very inoffensive chat about natural fibres versus man-made, I suppose, or versus synthetic fibres. So do have a look at that if you're interested. Finally, after getting some feedback from last week, I have decided I am going to run an Arnie and Carlos along. I'm still undecided as to whether to make it a Christmas bauble along, or to open it up to anything Arnie and Carlos-ified that you might like to make for Christmas. I think that's probably what it will be. For example, you may not want to make the baubles, but some of the patterns, you know, they're little doll patterns or they're bunny patterns, you know, the clothes they make of their little dolls. I'm very tempted to make a little knitted hippie doll, to be honest. But I'm going to start that at the beginning of July, and it's going to run for 5.5 months up to Christmas. So, and I will probably pull prizes every month from that, just to encourage you. So have a think. Would you like to set yourself a goal of maybe having 6 knitted baubles on your Christmas tree this year? Or do you have gifts? Do you want, I mean, those books I showed you last week have so many ideas that you could give as gifts. Or just knit them for yourself, crochet them. It's obviously mixes knitting and crochet. You might want to make a pair of slippers for your children, or for a partner, husband or wife, for Christmas, and you can make a pair of their felted slippers. Anything really designed by Arnie and Carlos. We're going to start the make along at the beginning of July, but what are we today? I think we're the 24th. So I will probably be starting it actually on next podcast next week. But we'll see. But that is going to happen. So that's quite exciting. Right. What else have I got in here? That's all I think I was going to say about the Ravelry Group. As I say, do join. It's really lovely. It's a very, very friendly, welcoming space of the internet for you to come and chat about your favourite hobby and crafting. Right, okay. I'm not going to switch the camera off, but I'm also not going to discuss the fact that I'm having a sip of my coffee. Now, one of the other things, and probably the last thing I will chat about craft-wise today, because I think I've probably gone on for quite some is, if you remember last week, I showed you my half square triangle quilt that I was making, my quilt topper, and I said I had ordered some fabric and I wanted to get the next row onto there. Well, finally yesterday I managed to get some, carve out some time to start making some more half square triangles. I've done all the sewing of them now, put them all together. I worked out from my plan I needed 54. So I have done probably, I think I've done 28 here. So I think I'll have 2, because each one obviously is 2. So it's a bit like a kite tail. Look at this. It goes on and on and on. So these are all put through the sewing machine twice. I'll show you in a sec for those of you who don't do machine quilting. nearly there. There. So what you do with half square triangles, I'll briefly show you. I've got a... So the neutral, oh, I don't know if you'll see that, it's got dots on it. So it's ivory with little gold dots on it. This is one of the squares from the Tilda Charm Pack. So to make your half square triangles, you put those together. You use a ruler, you draw a diagonal line. Well, I do, that's up there, how I was taught. And this is just how I was taught. So those of you who are much better at this than me, forgive me. But you draw your line down there and then you sew with your quilting foot and your guide on the line. So you sew 1/4 of an inch to the left of the line, down there, and 1/4 of an inch to the right of the line. And so you end up with, ooh, there you go, you can see that. So there's my line down the middle and then my 2 stitches. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my rotary cutter and I'm going to cut all of these in half on the pencil line. And I will end up with 50, I think 56 squares that look like that. So they'll be half and half. So you'll see the different colours I've got. I've done a whole mix of colours. Oh, I've got some green here, so that will be a green square. So what I need to do is go through, cut those with my rotary cutter. I then need to trim them to the right size and press them. And then I will sew them together and put them around the edge of my quilt. So I've still got a fair few more rounds to go, but hopefully by next week. Yeah, I'm having quite a quiet week with the shop this week, so I think I will have a chance to get that done. So that's really exciting. I really want to get that done because I've got another one I know I'm going to be working on very soon. Plus, I got a notice this morning that our classes are starting back for my other quilt that I was making that started all this off. I won't share that with you today. I will share that with you next week. It's the very first quilt blocks that I made at class back in February, I think it was. If you watched my vlogs, no, not February, of course it wasn't. It would have been November, because it was in the November vlogs, wasn't it? You will have seen the pieces. And I've deliberately put that on hold. I didn't want to barge on and make it without going back and finishing the class, because I just felt that it was a group, you know, it was something I did with that group and I want to save it for that group, really. Don't know how the logistics are going to work yet, and we'll just have to see, because obviously we're still shielding Gary, although that rule is changing now. So we're just taking that one day at a time, deciding what, quite how we're going to deal with all of that. Because at the moment he is technically very vulnerable to infection. Anyway, I did do some more on my my little hand-stitched hexies. And then I've been watched Rachel's vlog, and she was working on hers, which then inspired me to pick up mine again, of course. I'm also going to be starting a new blanket on the Loom this week. This is a blanket for Vicky, who is West Green Loft Yarns. She sent me the yarn. It was an agreement we made. I think I told you back at Unravel that I would make her a blanket. I've now received the yarn, so I'm thinking probably next week I'm going to start warping the big loom. So that will be something I can share with you. No spinning today. That's just sat there at the moment. I ideally want to make a dress. I want to make myself a dress. I just can't work out which pattern, and my head's been all over the place. So I will show you briefly the dress. I think I am just dropping yarn all over the place. I wasn't going to do this, but you know me. I have this book. I love vintage style dresses, and for my figure, I have an hourglass figure. It's not a Marilyn Monroe hourglass figure, but it is an hourglass. My waist is the thinnest point, and yeah, anyway, you know what hourglass is. And there's a couple of dresses in here that I really love, but the one I'm thinking of making, it's called the Short Sleeved Day Dress, and I absolutely love it. So it's cinched in at the waist, and then the big tiered skirt. Takes me back to my teenage days in the 80s, not the 50s, 40s, can I say. I really want to make that. The only thing is the measurements are for true hourglass measurements. So in order to get my bust measurement, no, in order to get, how does it work on here? One is way too big, but the other would be too small. So if I looked at this, to get the waist size I want, I would have to make the bust size about 4 or 5 inches too big. But I'm thinking if there are darts in the front, in the bodice, so maybe I could do that and then just make a bigger dart. I think I might do that. That's the dress I want to make, and I have seen some beautiful fabric, beautiful fabric that I'm thinking of splashing out and buying. So that's a possibility. But again, I need the dining room table for space really, and of course El Husbando is in there, so whether or not that will happen is another matter, but that's what I would really like to do. I've been also busy, really enjoying my journaling, my Bible journaling and various other paper crafts, but again I won't share those this week. I will probably share those with you next week. I think that's pretty much all that I was going to talk about. Phew, you say to yourself. As I say, I've no idea how long this is because I've been doing it piecemeal. I am going to record the book review shortly, and the book I'm going to review is, now I did get a question, I'll look it up before I do the review, but it's actually going to be, oh, she reaches over, Northanger Abbey. So it's another Jane Austen, but there is a specific reason I have chosen this to talk to you about. And I will explain more when we meet on the settee for our little Jackanory time. So yeah, she looks a little bit slinky, doesn't she? Bit of a cheeky girl that. I don't know who that is. Cover detail, Juliette Recommier. That needs to be French. Saucy lot of the French. And before you say anything, I love the French. I love France. I adore France, and for 2 pennies worth, I would have moved there when I was younger. I majored in France when I was at school in French, and I just adore it. So yeah, just I better say that, just so I don't offend anyone. Vive la France! Oh la la. Right, that's really enough from me for the moment. So I will love you and leave you. If you aren't interested in the book review, then I will say thank you for watching. Thank you for tolerating. I hope I've been able to keep you company whilst you do various things. Maybe you're lucky enough to be able to sit and knit or crochet or sew whilst I'm yabbering away in the background. Maybe you are doing housework. There is no judgment, by the way. If you're not, it's fine. And I will see you all next week. So look after yourselves. Have a wonderful week. But for everyone else, give me a couple of minutes and I'll see you over on the settee. Right, come on. You're going to lay down. Okay. Well, Henry seems to have wanted to dog bomb this particular section of the podcast. So, cheers, Henry. He's also rolled in something rather unpleasant, so it's not. No, it's not a pleasant smell. Come on, lay down. Right, anyway, we're back. We're back for the book review. And the book I wanted to review today, if Henry will let me get to it, is the good old, and it's a very dull cover, I'm afraid, Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. Oops, there you are. Got a bit of glare going on. It's so hot outside. Oh, good. Henry's now laid down, which is good. Although, obviously makes me even hotter. I'm all discombobulated now, and on the side, since we moved the settee, it's a bit harder to find somewhere to sit and put the camera. But anyway, you don't need to know that trivia, do you, for goodness sake? So, I've had a chat with a couple of people who have expressed an interest in reading more classic literature, but are obviously a little bit concerned that it might be a bit heavy going and a bit wordy. Now, also a couple of people read Christmas Carol along with us last December, and who is it? Diane said she's reading The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, which she's loving, and it was kind of a first for her in many ways of dipping into a classic. That might be not quite right, Diane. I apologise if I've got that wrong, but I know you're keen to read another one that, you know, was accessible, let's say. So the most obvious one to me was Northanger Abbey. This is such a good book. I think I've said before, Jane Austen writes with a great deal of humour, a great deal of it's not quite satire, it's not as distinctive as satire, more kind of irony and a dry sense of humour, looking at the life of her heroines and the families. If anybody has read or seen Pride and Prejudice on the television, they'll see the sort of Mrs. Bennet character is mercilessly mocked by Jane Austen in her writing. And, you know, you have the silly girls and then the sensible girls. So Northanger Abbey, I read this a couple of years ago, and I've got my book journal here from what I wrote. It was, I read it in 2015. Gosh, that's gone quickly. It was finished in 1803 and published posthumously in 1817. And the best quote at the beginning of the book is, "When a young lady is to be a heroine, something must and will happen to throw a hero in her way." And I love it. I've given it 5 stars in my review in my book journal. Really enjoyed this book. Great characters, lots of wit. That's it, wit. It's witty. The observations on life. I did look up a synopsis, although I've got one. I could read you the back of the book. It's got the quote on the back here as well, but it says, "Young, impressionable, I believe she's 17, Catherine Morland is delighted by her first experience of fashionable society, where she is introduced to the thrills of Gothic romances and to the sophisticated Tilneys, who invite her to their family home, Northanger Abbey. But there, influenced by novels of horror and intrigue, Catherine begins to think that terrible crimes are being committed, and her imagination threatens to run away with her. With its irrepressible heroine and playful literary games, Northanger Abbey is the most youthful... unbelievable and optimistic of Jane Austen's novels." So, and when I looked online to see if there are any more hints I could give you about the story. It does say, this quote from the Jane Austen website, it's fundamentally a parody of Gothic fiction. So it's not, it's not a parody as in the sort of, the kind of ridiculous comedy we see these days. It's a very subtle, very intelligent parody of culture and society in those days. And of course it was published or written at the time when the Gothic genre, with all sorts of things, the book they quote here is The Mysteries of Udolpho, which is the book that the heroine has read. But you've got books like Dracula and all those sorts of things coming to their fore during Victorian times. And so Jane Austen takes that, her heroine is obsessed with these Gothic romances, and sort of she goes through society, really letting her imagination run away with her. Again, very subtly, very cleverly done. What else does it say here? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, talks about the difference between fantasy and reality. yeah, everything she responds to, she compares to this novel, the character this is, the heroine that she has read, this gothic novel. It's a really good book. I did chuckle out loud quite a lot reading this book, just for the pure delight of the humour in it. So I would suggest, if you're not a great classics reader, but you think that you would like to give one a try, then I would plump for this. I would plump for Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. Yeah, it's really well worth reading, and it's not super long. The Penguin Classics tend to have lots of notes at the beginning, so, and also they have an appendix with notes at the back, so it's always worth checking. So the actual, where is it? There. So that's your thickness of your book. So it's not too much of a tome. And I think if you've enjoyed the book reviews and you've read some of the books that I have suggested previously, then I think you will really enjoy Northanger Abbey. Might just surprise you. So that's the book review for today. Not too long. Bit of Henry interruption. Right, I'm going to say a cheerio now. I hope, actually, we've still got some work going on outside. I hope that noise isn't too disruptive for you. But it's so hot, and I wanted to get this done and uploaded and all ready to go in the morning. So I hope you've had a good week. Thank you once again for watching. Thank you for all your lovely comments. Please keep them coming, and please, if you've got any requests for book reviews that or specific areas of interest you'd like to know whether I've got anything I can recommend for you. I don't tend to read dystopian. I draw the line at George Orwell and Aldous Huxley. Any fantasy fiction, obviously, you're welcome to send a question through to Hannah, who is Queen of All Books Fantasy. But other than that, if you've got any queries or you'd like me to do a review of a particular genre of book, then I'm more than happy to do that. In the meantime, I am going to go and make a cup of tea, and I'm going to give Henry a bit of a wash because he's stinky. Yeah, and I found the record, The Railway Children, so I'm going to put a clip at the end here. And if I can find the music, that won't interfere with YouTube, then I will put that up as well and see how many people recognise it. Have a lovely week ahead. I hope you are all safe and well and continue to be so, enjoying the more freedom that we're kind of being given now, and with the warm weather, but obviously still be safe, be careful, be more sheep, and keep cheerful.